Hello my lovelies and welcome to another video on my channel. Thank you very much for joining me today as always. This video is about creating this mani here. So a few weeks ago I got an order in that had several stamping plates, a new stamper and a couple of bits and pieces, and I wanted to use one of the stamping plates today, and I put the question out there, which stamping plate should I use first, and I had a couple of responses saying the vintage plate. So that is what we went with today, and this is how my mani ended up. So I was going for sort of like a vintagey old style book sort of look, which you'll see because I'd actually apply my gel polish slightly differently for this look. So everything that I used, I believe, is here. So my base is my opaque baby pink rubber base. The colors that I used are from this 16-in-1 gel polish palette. This is the second palette. This is the browns and neutral sort of palette, and I used this color here predominantly and a hint of this color. As you can see, I really didn't use very much. That was intentional. I wanted kind of like a almost streaky, slightly stripy look, because you know how old books get that sort of texture to them and slightly discolored. So they were the two that I used for this design. Oh, and you will also need a brush. I used my application brush. These palettes don't come with a brush, so you will definitely need to bring your own. My stamping goodies, I used my Miss Cheering in black. You will see me use another few colors with my stamping. What I was actually doing initially was blending black and white to give me like a grayish color to give it that slightly more aged look, which actually worked really, really well, as you'll see when I do the video. I just preferred the solid black. I'm really fussy when it comes to stamping. If this is the first video of mine that you're watching, stamping really is not this finicky. This is just me applying it. It looked perfectly fine, but then I decided that I didn't really like it and I changed it up. But that is typical of me with stamping. For some reason, I am particularly fussy with my stamping. I don't really know why, but anyway. So yes, you will see me mix black and white to get a grey, and I ended up just using straight black. You will also need a scraper of some sort. I did use my new stamper that I recently bought, and I really did like this. This worked really well. So you'll see me give this a test run. Oh, and you'll obviously need your stamping plate. So the one I used, I've got it off to the side because it's really hard not to have these really bright and leery on the camera. But this is the Nicole Diary 206 plate. And I also use my claw just to clean my stamping plate with cotton balls. So you will also need cotton balls and a few other things I've got off screen here because I couldn't get everything to fit. So you will need a lint-free roller or something just to clean off your stamper in between your stamps. So this actually works really well. It gets rid of the stamping polish without damaging your stamper. So don't recommend that you use acetone because over time that will degrade the surface of your stamping head. So lint-free roller works really, really well. I also used non-acetone polish remover and also acetone. This is as you can probably tell, a repurposed olive oil bottle, but it actually works really, really well because it's got a pourer on it. So it's fantastic. If you buy acetone in like a litre bottle like I do, and it's a bit too big and cumbersome to use, this is really handy to pop it into this. And I think that is everything that I used. As always, if I think of something else or if I spot it as I'm doing the voiceover, I will let you know. And yes, oh, I do have a code. This is everything I got here today, apart from this brush, which is a Madam Glam brush. It's a lovely brush, by the way, but I don't have a code for you for Madam Glam. I'm very sorry, but I do for NSI. So everything else is from NSI Australia, and I do have a 10% off code, which I will pop at the top corner of the screen. And I think that's it. So thanks everyone for watching, and let's get into it. So this is just a little bit of extra footage I thought I would leave in. I think I've mentioned this before, that sometimes I end up doing my nails in 2 sittings, just because I do a slightly thicker layer on my base coat. I use the rubber base, which I really like because it gives my nails extra strength, but I do apply it a little bit thicker so that it does give me that extra strength and so that I can file off my gel polish color design, whatever it is that I've done. So I always do a slightly thicker base coat, which obviously takes a little bit longer than doing, you know, a scrubbing layer of base coat. And depending on what I've got on, then I sometimes end up doing it in 2 sittings. So I will do my rubber base layer, and then I will put top coat over the top, which is a glossy top coat, because that's my favorite. So my nails look nice before I get to do my color. So, but what it does mean is that I've got a shiny surface on my nails, which I need to get rid of before I put the color. So I just go in with my buffer, as you can see, and take the shine off that top coat. So I do that for the entire nail, including the free edge, which you saw me do a second ago, and just make sure I get rid of every little bit of extra shine. Because I'm using a buffer, not a file, I'm not putting any scratches on my nail, I'm not reshaping or doing anything like that. I'm literally just removing that shiny layer, and I find that works really well for me. It gives me, you know, time between doing my base layer and my color, but in the meantime my nails look nice and shiny and glossy. So yeah, I just thought I would leave that in. I think I just show the 2 nails and that's it, and then I just get rid of any dust with my plush brush and make sure I have no shine left, and repeat that on all of my nails. So, you know, it takes an extra minute or 2, but that's fine. I don't mind that. I did used to sort of do one hand completely at a time, but then I found myself sometimes wandering around with one hand done and one hand not done, and I just didn't really like that. I know, yeah, obviously you can do that, there's no big deal, but I would rather do all nails with my base layer and then leave it a day or 2 if I need to, if I don't have the time, and then do my color. So that's just an aside for your info. So yes, I have just cleansed my nails, and then I'm coming in with the color. I'm just doing a bit of a reshuffle here because my color was out of shot, but I wanted to show you just how little product I am picking up when I do this color. So I'm really not trying to do a nice smooth layer of gel polish, which I would normally do doing my nails, which kind of made this a little bit fun, a little bit quirky, and a little bit different. So I am picking up like the tiniest amount of product, and I am purposely being really choppy with my application. I'm not trying to get a smooth finish at all. I'm actually going for that really kind of textured, not uneven, but just textured look. Because you're sort of thinking about like a page, it's obviously flat, but you know, old pages get a bit of discoloration, they get a little bit sort of, I don't know, streaky almost, you know, they're textured, and that was what I was going for. So I am intentionally applying a really minuscule amount of product, like literally barely enough to cover my nail, and I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on my brush, as you can probably see the bristles flexing, because normally I would go in with a significantly thicker layer than that, even for me, who is like the queen of the thin coats. But yeah, even for me, this is like extreme, but it was quite cool. It was quite good fun. I just obviously needed to make sure that I did cover every bit of my nail because I didn't want patches. I just wanted texture. So I'm just going in with an extremely small amount of the gel polish and my application brush, which does a great job of this. If you apply it with such a small amount of polish and really put pressure on the brush, you get that texture with it. It will automatically do that. So that worked really well. If you're not using a solid gel like this one, if you are using a gel polish in a bottle, that would work just as well. Just make sure you get as much product off your brush as you can. So when you bring your brush out of the bottle, just make sure you swirl the brush against the sides of that bottle, you know, swipe it back and forth a few times. You're almost dry brushing, to be quite honest. It's not much more than a dry brush. So you could definitely use a polish in a bottle, but just get rid of as much polish as you possibly can before you go onto your application. So yeah, it just happened that this was the best color that I have in my collection, and it just happened to be a solid gel. I was kind of going for that sort of semi sepia, you know, that off-white sort of old-fashioned colored paper, and it also sort of goes that color, of course, over time, which you'll see me go in with a second color and just try and get a little bit of aged look on the tips, which is really, really subtle, but actually works quite well. I don't know whether the camera will actually pick it up. In person, you can sort of see that very, very subtle shift. But anyway, we'll see. I'm not sure whether it'll show up on camera or not. So, but you could equally just use just the one color, something like this, which is just sort of that off-white, slightly sort of ivory beigey kind of color. But yes, definitely just apply it quite streaky, very, very tiny amount of gel polish, and just, yeah, make sure you keep that texture as it's applying. So that was quite fun. That's not something that I normally do. You know, normally you apply your gel polish and you want like this lovely, smooth, pristine finish. Yeah, not today, Josephine. So it was quite cool. It was nice to do something a little bit different. But yes, as you can see, I'm going in very choppy with my brush, and that is on purpose. But this color was actually perfect. Oh, still don't forget to cap your free edge. Yeah, the color was actually really, really perfect. And because that baby pink that I have underneath is kind of like a sort of milky base, that actually served its purpose really well as well. The combination worked very, very well. Better than something like, you know, that nudie color that I have that I often use. That wouldn't have been as good. So this did work really well. I am going in with a second layer, and I am applying no more polish than I did the first time. I'm still going in with that sort of streaky look, making sure I've got the whole nail covered, but just still giving it that drag effect across the nail. So I hope everybody is well. I hope you're all having a good weekend. What today is? It's Sunday today. So yes, I hope everyone's having a good weekend. I apologize, this video will probably not get up until early in the week. So I apologize for that. I do generally try and get a video up on the weekend. It's just been a little bit crazy as of late. As it is, you know, that's just life. Somehow we've made it to like the end of June, and I honestly feel like Christmas was about 3 weeks ago. I've got no idea where this year is going. It's really quite scary. But anyway, never mind. Yes, we are on our second coat, and I am just going in, finishing that off. I am doing my thumb as well, of course, but I don't know that I show that. I think I just generally do that off camera because I'm not doing anything different on my thumb that I am on the other 4 nails. So all the nails, actually, that's true, all the nails in this mani are exactly the same, which is very unlike me. Obviously the stamping images themselves differ, but each nail has the same colors and a stamp on them. So yeah, not sure what that's all about. Normally I mix it up a little bit, but anyway. Not today. Oh, sorry, I'm out of shot there a little bit. I apologize for that. There you can see that's quite a good shot. Actually, you can sort of see how much I'm literally dragging that brush. The brush had a rough day. Literally dragging it, but that's okay. As long as you're dragging it down the nail and not going against the bristles, you're not going to do any damage to your brush at all by doing this. So here I'm just going in with that second color. These palettes don't have numbers or names on their colors. It's the one just below that sort of vanilla beanie color. And I'm literally putting the tiniest dot on the free edge and just very lightly feathering it. This isn't any kind of ombre or anything like that. I literally put the tiniest little bit, and then I'm just literally feathering it up the nail. As I said, even like looking at this now, you can't really tell that much on camera. But that's the purpose of it. It was meant to be incredibly subtle and just look almost like a little bit of discoloration. You know, like over years, it's always the bottom part of the pages that start to look a bit tired. The first, they're the ones that lean up against bookshelves. That's generally how you turn the pages, all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted slight sort of discoloration at near the free edge, and it did actually work out really quite well. So I did initially, I think when I was doing my other hand, I did a slightly darker color and I wiped it off because I didn't like it. It needed to be just a shade or two darker than the main color, and that did work out really, really well. So yeah, I'm just literally feathering that up the nail. These are a 60-second cure. I think I forgot to mention that, sorry. So each time my hand darts off to the left, just like that, I am curing those gel polishes for 60 seconds for the solid gels. And I'm just coming in with my cleanser and removing that tacky layer. This is how I do my stamping. You can equally leave the tacky layer on and then stamp your image and just let the image dry completely on your stamper, and then stamp it onto the tacky layer. You can do that as well. Comes down to personal preference. I just tend to remove the sticky layer and then I can just apply my stamping straight away. So this is the new stamper that I bought, I don't know, a week or two ago. This was from NSI, and this is the first time I have used this, so I'm just giving it a roll with a lint-free wipe. Here I'm just pouring some acetone into a container. I wasn't sure whether I would need to buff this stamper or not. I haven't had a new stamper for that long. I honestly don't know if you need to prepare them anymore. This one, I didn't need to do any preparation at all beyond what you saw me just do. So as you can see, this is the brand new stamping plate. Still got its protective seal on it, which don't use your nails as tools. So I went to go and grab my tweezers to peel off that blue protective layer. So it's a brand new plate. I really do like this plate. I really liked it when I saw it online, and I still really do like it. It's a really, really pretty plate. So I'm just going to give it a quick clean with a bit of acetone. Acetone's the best thing to clean your stamping plates with. If you use acetone free, they sometimes have oils in them or some kind of conditioners in them, and they can leave your plates a little bit oily or streaky. Acetone is generally the best thing to use to clean your stamping plates, not your stamper, but just the plates. So I did have my buffer on standby just in case my stamper did need some prep. It actually turns out that it didn't. You don't know until you stamp with it and see, but if you find the first time you stamp with it, it's really just not picking up the image, you can give it a very, very light buff with literally a buffer. I wouldn't use a file. Just use a buffer just to take, they can sometimes have like oils on the surface of them, the stamper heads, and you're just literally trying to get rid of that oil. But as I said, this stamper didn't need it, so that was easy. So here, this was my first sort of thoughts with it. I wanted to go and get like a pale black, almost grey for the font, because you know how ink fades over time. And it actually worked out really well. I just put a little bit of black, a little bit of white, and then of course as you scrape, the two colours blend. So you do need to scrape a few extra times than what you normally would, just to make sure you get a nice blend, but it actually worked out really, really well. So if you're ever wanting to create another colour with your stamping polishes, this actually worked very well. So I just did a layer of the black. As you can see, I put the white pretty much directly underneath it. Just wipe that off to make sure I didn't get any black in my white, and scrape it a few times, and the next thing you've got like a grey colour. So it worked really, really well. But I don't know. As I said, I'm really fussy with stamping. I don't know why. I really don't. Most of the time it actually turns out perfectly well, and then I just kind of look at it and I go, no. So I think I did all of my nails with that before I decided to use just the black. So yes. That's just me being super, super fussy. It actually looked really good. But yes, as I said, if you wanted to use this to create another color, because often stamping polishes come in fairly sort of standard primary type colors, or it might not be, you know, quite the shade of pink or purple or what have you. So just mix it a little bit with a black or a white if you want slightly lighter or darker. As I said, it worked out really well. I think maybe I just thought it wasn't obvious enough. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no idea what I was thinking. I probably just had weekend brain. But yes, as I said, it did actually work out really well. But as you can see, I just stamped the images. It is really hard to stamp and show clearly what you're doing on camera. So hopefully you can see enough of what I'm doing with this. That scraper, by the way, came with this stamper, and that's really good as well. It's the right level of flexible but firm, so that was really good. And then I just roll my stamper and then to place the image on, and then just literally stamp it onto the nail. So as you can see, they actually looked perfectly fine. I just decided for some reason to go in and just use the straight black. So yes, I just in between, as you can see, I just clean my stamping plate with, that's just a little claw that I've got to hold cotton wool balls. It works really well, and I just dip that in the acetone and then wipe the plate free. So yeah, as you can see, I have removed all of the images. I remove the images with acetone-free nail polish remover, by the way. I don't put acetone on my nails when I've got gel polish, because acetone at the end of the day is a solvent, and it will work to break down your gel polish, even in small quantities. I don't put acetone on my nails. So I use acetone free on my nails. I use a lint-free roller on the stamper, and I use acetone on the stamping plate. So it does mean you need a few extra bits and pieces, but it does also mean that your gel polish surface isn't about to break down. It means your plate doesn't get any oils on it, so it is worth it. And I'm not sure what happened. Oh, I think I got like a bit of the text from Nicole's diary on there, which of course I didn't want stamped across my nail, so I was just removing that. If there is part of an image that you don't want, that is the best way to remove it, I have found, which is just to pick up your scraper and place it on the part of the image that you don't want to stamp, and it will just lift that stamping polish straight off your stamper. It works brilliantly. You don't need any solvents or anything like that. It just picks up that part of the image and it's gone. Works a treat. So this is another part of the image. I actually don't think I ended up using that part of that image at all. It was quite solid, and I just decided that I didn't really like it. It just looked kind of out of place. I think if they were all using that image, I think it would have looked fine. But all the other images are quite delicate, if that's the word. You know, they're quite fine, they're quite intricate, whereas that was just kind of like a solid blob of color, and I just didn't really feel that it just didn't gel. You know what I mean? It just didn't look the part, so I got rid of that. And that's the beauty of stamping, because obviously you can keep doing this until you're happy with it, which I did. Eventually I was happy with it, I do promise you. I did actually get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that now. But that's the good thing about it. If you just went through and did it in one go, like I really could have just done, I would have been done in half the time. But you know, you can see why I have to do my nails in 2 sittings, can't you? Like, this is why, because I just kind of look at it and I'm like, no, not quite happy with that. But anyway, that's the fun of these things, so it's all good. And I think the longer you do it, the fussier you get. That seems to be the case with me anyway. But yes, I did actually like it. This black stamping polish is actually quite thin consistency. It's not a super thick consistency. So when you're using a stamping plate like this one, which has got quite delicate images, it's actually really good because it doesn't make your images look more chunky. It keeps that sort of delicate look. I think we've sort of talked about this before. It is handy sometimes having different consistency stamping polishes and stamper heads and things like that, because quite literally the consistency of your polish, the stamper that you use, can make all the difference when you're stamping. And if you're not getting the results that you want, then swap something out. You know, if it's not picking up quite the way you like it, if it's looking a bit too chunky, if it's not looking chunky enough, you know, adjust your gel polish, pick up, your stamping polish, get one that's either a thicker or a thinner consistency, and change out your stamper head as well, because all of those things make a difference. And I'm not sure what the deal was with that image. I obviously just looked at it and I was just like, no, not today. So decided to do something a little bit different. And I can struggle a little bit with my little fingers because they are so little. Like, I just, as you can see, my nail beds are tiny. My nails aren't that long. So sometimes I just put an image on and I just go, no, that just doesn't really suit the size and shape of my nail. And as you can see, I found that again. So I did find one that ended up just being pure text, which I really liked the look of instead. So that's another thing to keep in mind, obviously the size of your nail beds and the length of your nails when it comes to the images that you put on as well. So whilst the image can sometimes look fantastic on a plate, and this is what happens with me quite a lot, by the time I put it on my nail, I discover my nail's either, you know, too short or too narrow or whatever it might be. So it's worth mixing it up and just seeing and having a little bit of a play. So yes, and I think this is the image that I actually do end up with. So yay! I've just got the one left now, I think, which is my thumb. And I don't show you doing the stamping on my other hand. As you can see here, I did do my left hand first because I wanted to show you, just in case that stamper head did need to be prepped, I wanted to show you how I was going to do that, but as it turns out, it really didn't need it. But if you do get a stamper, a new stamper, and it just doesn't seem to be doing the job properly, just take a buffer like you saw at the beginning of this video, something that's not very coarse, just very, very, very light buff over it, just to remove those oils. And that is literally all you need to do, and then rub your lint-free roller over it, just to smooth it over, and that is it. That is all you need to do to prep a new stamper head. But this one, as I said, didn't need it, and I don't know whether they still do these days. It has literally been, this is the first stamper that I have bought in years, quite literally, so they may not need that at all anymore. This one certainly didn't like the way that image stamped. It just looked a little bit wonky. But I didn't show you stamping it because I thought you've probably seen enough of me stamping at this point. This is a very useful little tip. So grab a cuticle or stick or orange wood stick, however you want to call it. Get the pointy end and just run around your cuticle and side walls. Sometimes when you stamp, you get a little bit of stamping polish that connects the nail to the skin, because it sort of goes over, it stretches over the two. You just want to break that link. And the pointy end of a cuticle stick, it just works perfectly. So I'm just going in now with my Flexi Gloss top coat. This is my favorite top coat. I just love it. And I'm just going over it. So there's one thing that is really, really important before you top coat, is you need to make sure your stamping polish is absolutely 100% bone dry. And this is why you're about to see, this is 100% dry. If it wasn't, I would have had streaking at this point. Unfortunately, when I put my top coat on, there was a hair. Actually, I think there were two. It was either fluff or a hair or something that came out with the brush. And I had to go over this nail, as you can see, multiple times. And if that stamping polish was not 100% dry, that would have smeared numerous times at this point. So you really need to make sure that that stamping polish is 100% dry. So there are things you can do, obviously, you know, if you sort of float the top coat over, but in this case, it still would have smeared because I had to go over it so many times just to get rid of that hair. You know, sometimes they get really embedded and they can be tricky to get out. And of course, in the meantime, I had a little bit of that running because I had the heater on. So I do flash cure it with the heater on. Often top coats or your gel polishes get a little bit more runny. So I did flash cure, I think, after every nail as I'm top coating. But yes, that is just something to definitely keep in mind. That stamping polish must be 100% dry. Otherwise, you are likely to get streaking. You can also find sometimes that your top coat doesn't cure fully if there is a wet bit of polish underneath it. And so you're likely to lose your, you know, your stamping image will start to come away before your 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however long. So if you want to get the maximum longevity out of your mani, basically guarantee it's going to last until you take it off and it's not going to smear, then make sure that stamping polish is dry. And yes, as you can see, I just move my nail around in the light. It's the best way to see if you've got any bits of fluff or dust or anything on your nail as you move it around. Sometimes you can just look at your nail and if it's stationary, it looks pristine. And then as you sort of turn it in the light, anyone that's been doing their nails for a while, you'll know what I'm talking about. You realize it's got a bit of a hair or fluff or something. So yes, just move it around, move your nail around in the light and pick up any of those issues before you pop it in the lamp to cure, because of course, up until the point that you do that, then you can just fix up pretty much anything. So just going around and popping that. This gel polish or this top coat is a 60-second cure as well. So I'm just doing a flash cure, freeze cure, however you want to call it, in between each nail, just because it is a little bit runny. And then my hand just goes in for 60 seconds. Oh, sorry for my face bobbing in the corner there. Apologies for that. You also want to make sure that you cover every part of that stamping image, of course, as well, because otherwise over time, because it is just normal nail polish, if you haven't got every little bit of it covered, then, you know, parts of it will start to come away. over the week or two that you're wearing this, or 3 weeks, whatever it might be. So now I'm going in with a bit of acetone-free nail polish remover. Give your nails, you know, a good 30-60 seconds coming out of the lamp before you do this. If your top coat is still warm and you go in with something like an acetone-free nail polish remover, it can dull your top coat. So make sure your top coat is 100% cool, and then it doesn't take long, literally, you know, a minute at the most, and then go in with, you know, your acetone-free polish remover. The same is for cuticle oil as well. If you're going in with cuticle oil, just give it, you know, until your top coat is cool before you go in with any of your oils and things as well. And it just keeps your top coat nice and super shiny. So as you can see, I made a heck of a mess doing stamping. I always do. It's just the messiest thing for me. Anyway, it's all good fun. I love it. I was actually really happy with the way that these turned out. It took me a few goes, as you could see, but I was very happy with the end result, which is the main thing. I've got a stubborn little bit of stamping polish there. Anyway, I hope you are all well. Thanks for watching.